Hello friends, welcome to Shiksharthi. In this session, we shall be discussing even functions. So let's start. Now when we are talking about functions and thereafter we are talking about even functions, let us try and understand that when we are talking about functions, we will take the basic function as f of x, and thereafter we will talk about whether this function is an even function or not. So first we will talk about the analog way, which is non-digital way, which is non-graphical. So this discussion can be divided into two parts. One is the non-graphical way of identifying even functions, and the other way here would be the graphical way. And we will see that both the ways are really interesting. Okay, so point number one, if we say that f of minus x is equal to f of plus x, or we say that f of minus x added to f of plus x. I hope you are aware of the fact what is minus x and what is plus x. When you take all negative values, you can take a zipped representation of all the negative values in terms of minus x, and the zipped representation of all the positive values can be taken as f of plus x. So when you add both these, and then the result, which is nothing but the range, is twice the value of the original function, then the original function fx is an even function. Let me take some examples. So let me take a function as we have been taking earlier also. If I take fx is equal to x square, what is f of minus x? So we will say this is nothing but minus x whole square, which again is plus x square only. If we would have taken f of plus x, in that case also the outcome would be plus of x square only. And when we add both of these, so either I say f of minus x, both of these are equal to each other, which is why the original function fx is an even function, or as we discussed earlier, the basic definition, if f of minus x plus f of plus x, in this case gives me what? Gives me 2x square, which is nothing but twice the value of the original function that we had taken, which is why we will be able to say that the function fx is an even function. So this is the way, which was the non-graphical way of identifying an even function. Now let us talk about the graphical way, for which we need to represent this data, the data which we have already talked about for the non-graphical way, on a graph. Now this will be plus of fx. Plus of fx is just like saying plus of y, and this becomes minus of fx. The right hand side of the x-axis is plus x, the left hand side is minus x. So if I choose a point in the first quadrant, this point will be what? This will be represented as plus of f of plus x. And if I take the same point equidistant, so when I say equidistant, what I'm trying to say is this length is equal to this length, the length of this point from the y-axis, which is fx. So in that case, we'll be able to say this is plus of f of minus x. If I take this point equidistant from the x-axis, let me say now the point is this, and I have taken this as equidistant. So let's say this is equal to this, these are equal. In that case, this goes into the third quadrant, which is minus of f of minus x. And then if I take this point as equidistant and I bring this point here, in that case this point comes out to be minus of f of plus x. What is the resultant figure that we get here? What is that figure? So let us say if these vertices are A, B, C, D, what are these? What is this figure? So this figure may be either a square or a rectangle, right? And let me write down the quadrants as well. So this is our first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. So if the graph is symmetric about the y-axis, so whatever we have in the first quadrant, so what we were saying initially was if the graph is symmetric about the y-axis, that means the function is an even function. So symmetric about y-axis is when we call the function as an even function. Can we say this is vice versa? I mean, an even function will always be symmetric about y-axis, and a function which is symmetric about y-axis, the graph of a function which is symmetric about y-axis will be known as the graph of an even function, of course. That means this eventually boils down to whatever I have in the first quadrant, if the same thing is there in the second quadrant, or whatever we have in the third quadrant, the same thing we have it in the fourth quadrant, and vice versa, or the combination of these. If there is a graph which is there in the first and the fourth quadrant, that should come, and if it is an even function, that should be symmetric, and that should come in the second and the third quadrant. This is the point that we are trying to make. Hope you will understand this and take your learnings to the next level.